great pleasure to meet you here on this very interesting virtual, how shall I say, milieu for this virtual city conversation. But it only proves how important it is in another way that we can have this type of lectures or dialogues with colleagues from around the world. And it also, in a way, validates the fact that comparative public policy is important, because it's so important to compare, because otherwise we wouldn't have here representatives from around the globe, really, from starting in Asia, in Beijing, and all the way to North America and Europe and so on. So first of all, thank you all for joining us and being part of this dialogue. The first lecture's topic was suggested by the chairs of the Executive Institutional Members Council as a way of, how shall I say, advancing collaboration and dialogue among the representatives, among the members of our society, the Society for Comparative Policy Analysis. And the topic is also an interesting one, because it's a new type of dialogue on a new type of development, which in a way overtakes our lives, right? And certainly for public policy, it is extremely important. So I would say the following. In my view, the great advances we see in the development of AI methods call for and raise important implications for public policy on two specific ways, or in two specific perspectives of looking at it, I would say. It has implications to public policy in the way we develop policy that can ensure reliable and safe, and I would add ethical, use of AI in various fields, such as, for instance, healthcare or education or security. And on the other hand, the other perspective is from within. How can we best leverage AI to analyze data and obtain useful insights about policies? And I think that the discussion today among the three presenters and the discussants, and then us, points to these two perspectives. And I very, very much look forward to introducing to you Hamid and Ishin and Leslie Pal, who were going to lead the discussion. Here we are. So who wants to start?
Sure. I didn't expect that though, but I would love to sort of kick off the stage. Thank you very much for having me here, Iris. I'm Yixin Dai from School of Public Policy and Management in Tsinghua University. So I'm honored to be here to talk about this important topic. So actually, I prepared sort of my part very easily because I'm honored to serve as the special issue editor for JCPA on the topic of AI, big data, as well as comparative policy analysis. So basically, what I want to share is something that we have found when we serve as this special issue editor. Professor Juho Lee from University of Nebraska, Omaha, and me, we serve together as the special issue editor. So right now we are at the stage to write an introduction paper for this special issue. So we decided to do some investigations in the area. So we're curious about actually what people have discussed with regarding to AI in public policy journals. In our mind, when we imagine this topic, we thought of like 500 papers at least. But when we really dig into Web of Science, using AI as the keywords to search for journals, especially with public policy journals, we ended up with 71 papers, which actually surprised us. So the number wasn't as much as we thought. Basically, we covered two types of papers. Two types of journals. The first type is actually general public policy journals. So we actually select specific journals among the top 50 ranked journals. And then we added up some of the journals that specific focus on certain domains, such as science public policy and research policy. We think that they may also mention about AI-related research. With that 71 articles, of course, there's an increasing upward trend in terms of publication numbers in each year. And basically, we found very four focused thematic areas that those papers talk about. First, very interestingly, as all the technologies that has been adopted or has been used in human history, artificial intelligence is firstly adopted in private sectors rather than public sectors. So particularly in journals like Research Policy, there's a huge discussion about AI applications in private sectors and the policy implications with regard to that. So with all those discussions, actually they talk about like how AI adoptions would affect firm innovations, employment or wages, and how AI would actually enhance the research design in private sectors and in academic areas. So basically, they use this research policy journal, particularly as the major platform to talk about firm-level organizational empirical studies with regarding to artificial intelligence. This is not directly to public sector, not directly to AI policies, but this kind of serve as a background to let people know what really happened in the industry level. The second topic actually goes to AI governance. It talks about policies, regulations, and institutional designs with regarding to these new technologies. So these articles actually directly relevant to our public policy topics. Specifically, as Iris has mentioned before, there are several big categories of these research. The first, of course, is the AI-specific policies and regulations. So, for example, there are frameworks designed for governing the risks, ethical issues, or the innovations of societal impacts of artificial intelligence. Some researchers, they develop like the governance of AI and generative AI sort of comprehensive governance framework. And also they map the AI policy development trends or analyze how the public administration approach AI governance per se. So this is a whole structure. So for example, one implication might be to what extent government-funded artificial intelligence research may have an impact to the overall technology development. So this is a particularly AI policy in that area. And the second one actually is governance structure discussion. So it basically talks about how policy makings and regulatory systems should be adaptive to the rise of AI, including what's going to be the role of big data and this artificial intelligence in the government. and to what extent government structures, would the structure be more sort of platform or flat, or the hierarchical structure can maintain something like that. On the other side, besides this sort of policy and governance structure related discussions, how to use AI for governance also becomes a very important topic. So to what extent governments can use artificial intelligence themselves for tasks such as fighting corruptions and helping to make better decisions actually has been added into this discussion. And also to what extent AI can enhance public participation has been discussed in a large degree in these areas. And lastly, but not least, within this AI policy and regulation categories, there's a huge discussion about the AI skills in public sectors. So to what extent will the government sectors build up new capacities in terms of AI skills? What trainings or what systematic reviews should the government sector to have to improve their employees' capacity actually has been discussed, particularly in this category. So we can tell that this category is quite large, very vibrant, and conceptually rich. Of the field, it shows that AI governance is quickly becoming the central concern in public policy research. We found the third category actually is regarding to public opinion. So it's not like other technology, not like computer science, that if you adopt it in the government sectors, is basically how the government perceive this technology. Public opinion actually has become really large, really influential in terms of to what extent people can accept and trust this technology and compliance with the decisions that is made with the help of artificial intelligence in the government sector. So, for example, the public acceptance, their sentiment analysis, their trust, attitude, and even to what extent they would follow their willingness to follow AI system recommendations has been added into this. And particularly, I love one article by an author and Beland that is published 2025. It talks about emotional labor and societal imagination to explore the social political implication of low-skilled workers in this area. So I think this is a huge, sometimes this is something new that we see in this technology adaptation policy-related research. And the last but not least, actually, is kind of following the previous topic. When we talk about public opinion matters in terms of AI, there's new branch in AI policy research talking about how to frame and make narrative from the policy making point of view. That is is a political lens of how what is often framed. That is, AI is usually to frame as a pure technical issues, but how to frame it politically in that sense. For example, there is a policy discourse framing or bias or political meaning framing in this policymaking process, and how to make this narrative constructions both at national level as well as a global level for the policymaking to be more smooth. So I think my time is almost there. So conclusively, we think that from this very brief systematic review, we actually can conclude like three things. First of all, as we all sense that AI governance actually is emerging as a very important distinctive field in public policy analysis. It's beyond the discussion of technical adoption or technical standards. The second, the governance theme, particularly with regarding to regulations, policy frameworks, actually leads the intellectual discussions and development in the area. However, we also feel that there still remains a relative lack of comparative interdisciplinary and global analysis, which we think we're very lucky to raise up this special issue in JCPA. So we not only focus on AI-related policy analysis, but we also very emphasize comparative elements dramatically over there. So I think this is very brave report about what we have found, and I hope this is just a starting of the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was a very enlightening presentation, and your findings are absolutely mind-blowing, especially the 71 articles, I may say, which is marginal, but it's interesting. So shall we move then? Shall we invite Hamid to join us now for his talk?
Okay, thank you so much. I had a small, very short PowerPoint. I'll share it with you. Share it. All right. Thank you so much. Because the part that I will be discussing it more related to the implication and the impact of the AI automation on teaching comparative public policy. And if I try to frame what I have just presenting it, the challenge is how do we train the student to discern AI-enhanced insight from the AI-generated noise in the comparative analysis? Because now we have multiple tools and very robust tools that they could do a lot of activities to us, and I'll talk about that briefly. Also, the other thing is in teaching, sometimes we are assigning the students comparative policy projects. Can that AI should be a co-author as an entity that is helping, giving hands? And also, how can we ensure that AI tools in public education are regionally balanced and ethically trained? So one of the key things that is, we know that the deep research and open AI ChatGPT automated tasks that are traditionally done by the researchers, such as summarizing literature, mapping policy frameworks, and generating comparative analysis. So now is, what is the role of the educators here? Are we supposed to redefine the comparative policy skills? Are we supposed to shift from the content mastery to the critical engagement? Because we know that AI is augmenting our intelligence, so we must engage in a critical engagement with the AI-generated contents. This is the one. The second one is about risk of the homogenizing in comparative analysis. For example, AI models have been trained on the dominant languages and on the Western-centric sources, may reinforce epistemological issues and biases in the policy analysis or policy content. And the risk is the students could unknowingly replicate narrow framework underrepresenting global South, and we might end up ignoring the experience, the rich experience, the governing system of the global South. So it might be very important that we are raising a red flag on that once, because we don't want to see that AI will frame, all the algorithms are working in a monocultural aspect. That could be one of the challenges. Number three, we know that with the web-connected AI models, the ChatGPT with browsing and the Gamma AI, it generated very beautiful presentation. I have shown that from the students. So here's an opportunity that students can simulate real-time policy responses using up-to-date cross-sectional data. So here is the education, it's enhance our education that will make us moving towards the problem-based learning, where we are going to use the live data to examine policy diffusions, crisis response, or regulatory divergence. So this is going to be enhancing our tools to greater extent, and it tends to be very robust. On the point number 4, regarding the writing and assessment, we know that students using the deep research to draft essays, conduct comparative case studies, or they can simulate policy memos, something that was very difficult in earlier days, but today is so easy. With a stroke of the pen or of the bottom, they can do that. So here, as an educator, how are we going to assess this? So we might need to rethink our assessment to emphasize on original interpretations, context awareness, and policy justification rather than surface level of the synthesis. Because all days we said, oh, this is a beautiful piece, because the students do a lot of their own synthesis. But now that era is gone. So we might need to prioritize AI literacy, checking the ethical reasoning in public affairs education. The point number 5, how are we recalibrating the research skills, research ethics, and the source integrity? We know that the AI tools, they tend to be hallucinating or misrepresent the evidence. So in this case, the comparative policy, where the context and the citation accuracies are very critical and crucial. So we might need more effort on the source verification, become very challenging, especially pedagogical priorities. It should be focused in there. So here it is. Teaching comparative public policy might require AI source auditing, and triangulation skills. So that is, we ensure that not only we're producing products that are fluent, but supposed to be reliable content. That's what we should look at it. The point number 6. Point number 6. Let me just write that up. Point number 6. There is an opportunity for the inclusion in a global dialogue. So, in other words, how are we going to make democratizing the access to the comparative public policy by lowering the transaction cost for the low-income countries, likely to students from the low-income countries able to have an access to it? So that is, the curriculum design should leverage the AI to include the very diverse case studies and encourage cross-regional policy learning. And the last but not least is, are we going to see that is probably in the global south? Because I feel that the issues are very rich and it's undiscovered yet. And a lot of issues that people are discussing are so relevant. You see that the global north, there's a lot of issues that they already address those issues and now going to newer frontiers. So we are going to have a dual system. How are we going to integrate those one in a very efficient way so that we're enhancing our comparative studies? And I think I took my time. Thank you so much.
Anyways, so what I was saying is that I was thinking, for something that is very tangible, something that we all can take home and use with our students or in whatever we do, research and so on, because these are really down to earth things to do in a way, right? So thank you so very much for your thoughts and for your putting this together. Shufang.
Okay, thank you, Iris. Thank you, JCPA, organizing this for organizing this wonderful event. So I'm talking. I will talk about the opportunities and the challenges of public policy research in the intelligence age. I will have a slide to share. So first, I'm Xufeng Zhu, Dean of the School of Public Policy and Management of Tsinghua University, and also I'm co-chair of ICPA Executive International Institutional Council. So thank you for having me. This is a great opportunity for us to discuss public policy research in the intelligence age. So maybe first is that artificial intelligence is rapidly shaping governance. So we can see that we have some data and also others. So we can see digital technology propelled the AI plus rapidly applied across various domains. For example, the digital technology market is growing steadily and with application expanding continuously. We can see the figure one, the download volumes for AI chatbot apps early this year. It's very fast, like ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Kimi, and Gemini, and also in Chinese, Doubao. And also the rapid progress of AI spearheaded by innovations like ChatGPT, DeepSeek is ushering in a new era of breakthroughs. And also all AI research continues to experience persistent growth. This is AI research, not AI public policy research. So this is for AI publications like articles, papers published. So we can see the growth rate is steadily up. And also, digital technology reshaped the state governance. Digital technology reshaped the state government capacities. The government can be permissibility and sustainability and synergy deeply reshape the technological governance, economic governance, social governance, and so on. And also, digital technology drives innovative public service, enabling efficient governance. The final one is digital technology promotes innovation and development in public management. We can give an example. For example, the practice in public services by AI. The key benefit is enhanced service efficiency, reduce administrative costs, and improve transparency and increase public satisfaction. So you can see that the robot AI governance service robot, and also in China, there are a lot of local government use AI applications to provide public services. So the topic I would like to emphasize the impact and the challenges of public policy research in the AI age or digital age. We can see several aspects. First is the impact of digital technology on public policy making in the real world. So for our decision makers, what they will do and in the digital age. First is in the real world, decision makers, they use data-driven decision making, right? Big data analysis and data visualization tools can help public policy scholars to provide public analysis and recommendations to policymakers. And also the public opinion monitoring. This is another thing used by the public policy makers. By using social media analysis tools, and also decision makers can more effectively understand the public views on specific issues and policies and make more accurate policy decisions. And the real-time feedback. So we can use some online survey and interactive platforms to enable decision makers to quickly adjust the policy directions and the policy recommendations. Finally, it's knowledge management, because we have a lot of big data and on public policies. So digital files and also database management system enable policy agencies to store and retrieve research materials more effectively. So this is a real world. So for our public policy researchers and schools, how to do that and what's the impact of that? First is the opportunities brought by the digital technology of public policy research. First is a research theme. We have more new research themes and perspectives, new research topics, such as data governance, algorithm decision making, and digital public service emerge. So there are a lot of new topics, new research themes, and also for traditional themes. For example, the traditional public policy theme values like efficiency, like equality. This is like a traditional theme. We can also incorporate the data and the technological perspective into traditional fields, traditional themes, such as policy process, policy analysis, policy evaluation, and the public values analysis, something like that. And also the interdisciplinary studies between public policy and other engineering disciplines. For research method, data-driven, obviously, big data and analytical tools make policy researchers more reliant on data. The use of quantitative methods is more common, such as big data analysis, predictive methods, and statistics. And we can also use simulation and simulations, and also laboratory experimentations, something like that. We can use computational models to test the hypothesis and predict the results. And the network analysis, because social media, there's a big data platform, online platform, to provide rich data sources to analyze public opinions, policy effectiveness, and also organizational behaviors. So, but another thing is we have a new topic on public policy with AI. For example, the research ethics issue, like data privacy, algorithm transportation, and the research qualities and replicability. So they are all new research topics related with ethics issues. So this is opportunities, but we have challenges brought by the AI to public policy researchers. First is for us, are we prepared for that? This is a key question for us. Knowledge updated speed, because the research topics and the methods are rapidly changing, and the public policy scholars need to be able to quickly adapt these changes. The second is the complexity of interdisciplinary cooperation. So this is another challenge for us. We are public policy researchers, so we must cooperate with other disciplinary scholars, and more with to lead more complex organizations and management research projects, big projects, and interdisciplinary big projects. So that's another challenge. The third challenge is to enlist in data values. Inconsistent data collected standards, limited value mining, and unclear transaction rules and duplicated data construction. This is for us for the skills of data analysis. And another one is a highly specifies the technology requirement. Modern public policy researchers are increasingly relying on high specialized data analysis tools and technologies. So this is a very, we have new expertise, and the data management and the security. Yeah, this is another thing because for our computers and also the servers, we must, keep our data safe. Final one is improve institutional construction because of the AI and the digital age, our research agents or research institutes, the structure of them could be reconstructed, and the schools and the training system will be changed. So another thing is challenge brought by the digital technology to the cultivation of public policy talents. So what kind of students should we teach? First for us, because in the AI age, are we prepared for teaching new generation of talents, public policy challenge? Because the students in the future must have the ability of deal with the AI governance, AI society. So are we prepared for that to teach this knowledge? First is the challenge is lack of interdisciplinary teaching staffs. So as a dean, I'm very concerned about that. The second is the uncertainty of online teaching quality. We use a lot of remote MOOC and also others online teaching, and also metaverse to use technologies in the classroom. How to maintain the qualities of teaching. The third is the lack of digital ethics education. So not only we should train the students with AI skills, but we must give the common sense of ethics of digital AI ethics issues, and also lack of high quality teaching and training resources. For example, we would like to use AI in the classroom, but AI itself is a big project to build a software and a platform and a scheme and also other lot of things. So this is we should input a lot of resources to build a new platform on teaching, and the complexity of management system. Obviously, digital technology requires introduction of diverse softwares and hardware platform. The management system will be much more complex, and also the shortage of professional administrative management talents. For us, we not only for our teachers and professors, we have to have many AI staffs and the administrative managers to help us to cultivate public policy students. So that's my consideration about the opportunities and the challenges in the AI for us to public policy research and public policy talent cultivation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shufan. And now we're moving to Les. Les, may I ask you to shorten a bit so that we have time for Marwa's discussion, if you don't mind?
Sure, of course. Of course, yeah.
5 to 6 minutes.
All right.
Thank
Everybody can hear me okay, I presume, I hope. Good. Well, thank you very much. It's a great opportunity to be on the same panel with these distinguished colleagues. My comments are going to be mirroring or could be considered to be an extended footnote of my dear brother Hamid's presentation, because he was thinking about the impact of AI on teaching and effectively on research and writing. So this is what I decided to do to look at the impact of AI on research and writing more from a faculty or a seasoned researcher point of view. And what I did was conduct a small experiment. And this was with respect to a paper that I have worked on with my colleague Logan Cochrane. And we've submitted the paper to a leading journal on public administration and policy. We submitted it a few months ago, so it's still under review, of course, but it took us probably about 5 or 6 months in total to work on this paper, the two of us, in conjunction with more or less a full-time research assistant as well. The subject of the paper, just to put you in the picture on this, was halal regulation in the GCC countries. As some or most of you may know, in Islam, there's halal and haram, so permissible or permitted and forbidden. And this applies primarily to food products, but not exclusively. It also reflects ways of being or ways of life. Within the Quran and within Islamic legal traditions, there's a fairly well-developed series of rules and strictures on types of animals, types of food, slaughtering techniques, not without some dispute within the larger Islamic community. Different countries take different approaches, but it's quite a robust, religiously based form of regulation. It also applies beyond just food regulation, as I mentioned, ways of life, but it can also, for example, address and this is an emerging field, cosmetics, certain kinds of pharmaceuticals that might use different kinds of animal products, for example, and even extending to things like halal tourism. So we're talking about basically 1.6 billion people that are within the Islamic tradition that pay attention to halal, but also outside of the Islamic community, a lot of people partake of halal foods for reasons of hygiene or quality of food products, etc. So the question was, and we got into, from a policy perspective, this is not something that's just undertaken at the country level, of course, but in an era of global trade, when New Zealand and Australia and Canada are exporting beef products, for example, to countries in the Islamic world or to the Gulf, there have to be regulatory regimes that apply at the national level. So this was, for us, an interesting exploration of religiously based regulatory regimes that also have international implications, very similar to the kind of work that's been done by Ben Cashore and others on state market-based regulatory regimes. The ones we're probably most familiar with in this audience would be things like fair trade coffee or sustainable forestry development. These are international regulatory regimes that take place around these kinds of products. So we wrote the paper. So the idea was, let's see what an AI can do in parallel, driven by certain prompts. The core of the paper was to look at the background in halal and religious principles, to look at a couple of comparative country cases, Singapore and Malaysia, to look at international regulatory regimes. There's a World Halal Council. There's an international halal regulatory regime. There's about 4 or 5 different entities at the international level, and then look specifically at 3 GCC countries, Qatar, Kuwait, and Bahrain. So what I did was, Logan wasn't part of this, but he gave me permission to conduct the experiment. What I did was, because we've already got the paper written, but obviously it's not accessible to the AI. So we went through a series of prompts to do a literature review, provide up to 500 words on halal regulation, provide a comparative analysis of Singapore and Malaysia in terms of their halal regulation. I gave a prompt with naming 2 of the international organizations. Then we looked for the GCC countries, but we asked it to review all 6 GCC countries, and then prompted in terms of some conclusions, particularly around that literature on Islamic public value. The LLM that I used was Claude 3.7 Sonnet. This one is not equipped to do, the version that I have is not equipped to do internet or web-based research or provide citations. If we were to use something like deep research or Claude now, I think in some jurisdictions in the US is now enabled for internet access and providing citations as well. It would have been a different and richer kind of paper. So this the experiment is available. We can anybody that's interested can get access to it through the organizers of the panel, and you can see my prompts and you can see the responses all the way down. And let me share just a few quick, because I know time is pressing, a few quick conclusions. First, I found the responses depressingly good. I wish I could say that the AI was vastly inferior to what my colleague and I generated, but it's not. In the version of these remarks that are shareable with the audience, I came up with something like maybe we were 15% better. I don't know what that means, but as I said, the text that was produced, the detail, the absence of hallucinations is a little scary. Second point is that obviously this is not an integrated paper. We didn't ask it to produce an integrated paper. It's driven by prompts. But if we were to use a more sophisticated LLM like Deep Research, that could actually do the raw research and provide the citations, I think we could generate something much more impressive. The comparative analysis, a third conclusion, comparative analysis on the GCC countries was a bit thin. But again, if I had driven more precise prompts, it might have come up with something more detailed. But think of the alternative. We had an RA working 10 hours a week for 5 months to generate some of this data by doing the usual kind of research of going onto the websites, reading the governmental materials that were available, digesting, sorting, sifting, and pulling all of this together. It took Claude about 45 minutes. I'll repeat that. It took Claude about 45 minutes to generate all of this information. The conclusions were actually quite sophisticated, paralleled our own conclusions, and the human perspective didn't produce anything unique based on the research. And indeed, the Claude version came up with a couple of conclusions for further research. This is kind of building on Shufeng's point that we hadn't thought of. And finally, this whole exercise forced me to think about, and I haven't got to any conclusions. Maybe Marwa will reveal all and let us know what the next steps would be. But how we go about doing our research. I did it the old conventional way because that's what I've been doing. It's like an old horse in the barn. I mean, I've been doing this for 40 years. So I did the usual thing. You go out and read and think and reflect and digest and take notes and condense the notes and then write it all up. I don't know how an AI-assisted comparative public policy researcher will work in the future. My days are numbered. But using AI in the way that I did in this experiment may lead to a different kind of partnership, a different writing style, a different researching style, particularly if you're going to be using the more sophisticated versions of LLMs that are available and that I did not, again, I underscore, I did not use in this particular experiment. Thank you very much.
Mind-blowing, Les. It really is. It's wonderful and really a bit depressing. But we are out of the scene soon, so maybe the next generation would be used to it, and they will not. Maybe there might be other things that would blow their minds. Who knows? Thank you so much. It was very enlightening. Thank you. So, Marwa.
Hi, everyone.
A lot to think about, right?
I know. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Iris. And thank you so much to the presenters. It's really a lot to take in. The presentations were brilliant and stimulating and really made me think more about this. And I really like that the presentations kind of complemented one another. So we started from teaching, research, and then governance and bigger picture presentations. They're all interconnected, but also complementary. So that was really helpful to have like the bigger picture about what's happening. And of course, it left me with many more questions than answers. I think I'll start from the bottom up and start from like teaching. I thought what was said about teaching public policy now, the thing that really struck me the most is how AI was framed as not just a tool to master, but a force that's changing the epistemology of the field. And that's what Hamid said. because it's not just telling us about what we know, but how we know it. And that for me, that was striking, because we're still thinking about it as a tool. But what really hit home for me was what your point about the changing nature of assessments. Because now we're all dealing with final papers coming in, and my colleagues are all calling, I think this paper is all AI made, 50% AI made. And I feel like, because I will talk about myself. I didn't know anything about Claude before I heard about it from Les. So I didn't know what that was. I know DeepSeek and ChatGPT, so I feel like a bit of a dinosaur. But when I was like, the idea is there is a digital literacy gap between us and our students. I feel it. Like, I feel like they're much faster. They learn new things when it comes to AI much faster. And I wonder if we're still playing kind of defensive, like we're all trying to see how much of this paper is original. And what you said about epistemology made me think, is this what we should be doing in the future, or is it a losing game because it's moving so fast? And I worry about that digital literacy gap, and then it makes me think, so as a professor, as an individual professor, how much can I do? And then my question to you and to everyone is, addressing this for universities has to be done at the institutional level. Like, it seems like everything needs to change. The curricula, what we teach, how we teach it, how we assess students. And it's kind of not fair to leave it to individual faculty members to kind of scratch their head and get all these assignments and then and papers, and they don't know what to do with it, because we're just trying to detect how much of it is real, is original. But what I'm worried about, if students don't know what a really good research paper look like, can they even use prompts to generate a good paper? And you can tell by, like, I think 90% of the papers I received this year used AI to some extent or another. But what I'm thinking is, the people who know how to write better, they also produce better quality research, even using AI. So I worry that it's going to become like the calculator, where I don't know how to do any division or multiplication of large numbers, because I'm so used to the calculator. And so I don't know what will happen to how we assess students. But I think it's bigger than assessments. I think, like you said, it's about the epistemology of this. And my question to you is about the institutional, what can we do institutionally to deal with this? And then, of course, I go from teaching to research. I think the experiment was extremely depressing for me, because it's like, where do we go from here? Like, especially how fast AI is moving, it's exponential. And I like to think that it's going to be good. We'll be able to produce better research, produce things quicker. But I am worried because like, again, if researchers don't start as research assistants and do all the groundwork and sit for hours in the library or near the computer and trying to sift and think through things, and if research assistants disappear as a result of like having AI, then how researchers will be trained? And I was reading a paper, I was reading in Forbes recently about AI in medicine, and it said that AI is now more accurate in reading diagnostic images than doctors. And the difference is big. Like, AI is in the 90s and doctors in the 70s, 70% something. So then I'm taking this to our field and thinking about research assistants. And I'm thinking, then how do we train researchers if we won't have research assistants anymore? And also, so for me, it's thinking about how do we think about research differently and training researchers differently, the way and can we keep up? Like, it seems to be moving so fast. And in terms of like, I really appreciated the presentation that organized the themes. And I like that it's on the one side, there's research on AI governance. How do we govern AI? And on the other side, there is all this research about how AI can be used for governance. And the two sides are everything is new, judging by like the literature review that was done. But it's very important that we're starting early and we're looking at both sides. And I'm thinking about policy transfer in the context of AI governance and how it can be studied beyond just national limits and this a comparative public policy, right? How do we govern AI differently in different contexts? What can we learn, and how it can be done? And then on the last presentation, I was very happy because it kind of answers some of my questions about like dealing with teaching public policy at the institutional level. And it seems like Chung Hao University has made a lot of progress thinking about it institutionally. And we can learn from how to think about integrating AI or dealing with AI or how do we view it. And I think we can learn a lot from what they're doing at the university about how to deal with this at an institutional level and not just at individual faculty level. And the other thing that I want, but my worry is about especially with AI, like the idea that it can be very, very useful, like you mentioned, but it can also be very dangerous. You mentioned social media and AI, and we're seeing a lot of use of AI that's not something that is scary, to be honest. And then, but also if it can make things much more efficient, health, education, sectors, and so I'm wondering if you can help us think about the challenges and opportunities in the future more. The last thing I want to say is really a concluding point about the global North versus global South. I worry, like you said, like I just worry that the AI, it produces what it's fed, and most of the information and the literature out there is produced in the global North. So for people like us from the global South, I don't know how do we deal with this as researchers, because of the inherent bias in what's inputted into the systems. And I know this point was raised, but I don't have an answer for it. I don't know if I stayed in time, but on time, but
thank you very
so
much. Thank you so much. I think we are at the end of our hour. I don't know if anyone wants to hang on, but there is, let's give another 3 minutes if anyone has to raise anything, because we just chatted in the beginning. So let's have 2-3 minutes for any input from any of our friends. But thank you for a most enlightening discussion today. It really blowed my mind. I don't know about your minds, but this is what happened to my mind. Okay, so anyone wants to comment on any of the issues raised?
Yeah, if I may, just very briefly, so it might seem a shameless self-promotion, but and so first of all, thank you for these interesting presentations or inputs. I just wanted to highlight a little bit the socioeconomic dimension of the whole discussion, because most of your examples either deal with research or data management and regulatory measures. But my feeling is that this whole future of work and the socioeconomic dimension behind it is very relevant in this context. So it starts, for instance, in public administration. So the question is whether actually we need public servants at all anymore, right? It seems that some people in the United States believe that we do not. So that's actually a job market issue for people we train. But it goes on, of course, also to the private sector and all sectors. what are the skills needed, but also, yeah, how do we deal with people who cannot keep up with the whole technological disruption? That's very much something we have been working on a lot. I can talk more about this, but I don't want to. As I said, no self-promotion. It's just a little bit my observation that this dimension is very important.
Thank you very much. It's indeed very important, and a topic an issue and topic to think about. Any other insights? We have a very long list of wonderful people, about 40 people who have joined us. And I am really very happy that some of you have joined our community, and especially on this very unique topic and very unique and insightful discussion and dialogue among the 4 speakers and the discussant. And I invite you to write to and submit to the JCPA so that we can have your insights published in a normative way. We don't know what's going to happen in another few years, but in the meantime, let's do it our way. Thank you again for your participation. It has been really wonderful to have you with us today. Thank you.